Hello and welcome to this month's edition of the Whisky Investment Podcast by VCL Vintners. I'm Alwynne Gwilt, whisky journalist, and this month we're in the heart of London exploring Doghouse Distillery. I've got Katherine Saunders, who's the co-founder here at Doghouse, and we're going to be learning all about what they do here at the distillery and how they came to make whiskey in London. Katherine, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
I'm super excited to chat with you more about it. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself for those listeners who haven't maybe had a chance to meet you or know about who you are and what you do?
Yes, so Doghouse was co-founded by myself and my husband Braden.
Yeah.
We moved into this site in late 2016. It took us a year to build and then almost a year to get our first spirit out. So it's a huge project.
Yeah, massive.
We're the only multi-category grain-to-bottle distillery in London. But before we did the distillery, we were actually living in Australia, which is where Braden hails from. And we've been in business together for about 15 years now, but our business prior to the distillery was a restaurant, bar, pub. It was a merger of all three. Yeah. And we actually started that business from scratch, having no real experience in hospitality. Dove into it.
Amazing.
And it was at the beginning of the craft beer wave in Australia. So at the time, everyone was just drinking very large mainstream lager. And Braden had gotten really interested in craft beer and then saw what was happening here. And then we were the first bar in Brisbane to only sell craft beer. So people would come in and say, can we get a 4X lager? And we'd be like, well, no, but we've got this from a brewery down the road. Cool. And that was our journey into distilling. It started really with brewing and beer, and then we've ended up here.
Amazing. So as I mentioned in the intro, we are obviously right here in the heart of London in Battersea. Yes. You'll hear the trains going past. It is very atmospheric. Yes. I mean, you literally, as you said, it took you a year to build here. How did you end up in Battersea, and what is it like to make spirits here?
Well, we knew that we wanted to do it in southwest London. When we were looking for our site, which actually took 9 months. It was one of the hardest parts of getting going, was finding a site, because in London, it's highly competitive. And so when we were looking at sites, we definitely focused our look in the southwest of London. There was a lot happening that was cool in the north and the east of London. But the distilleries that were already in the southwest of London were very traditional and more gin focused. And we knew that we were going to be a full category distillery. And we're a bit more fun, a bit more edgy, and we just thought it would be cool to bring that to the southwest. Battersea was kind of actually, we didn't choose Battersea, we chose the southwest, and we ended up here, and it felt like it was just meant to be.
Amazing. And you said so that was your journey started almost 10 years ago?
Yes, very late 2016 when we secured the site. We probably started the build sort of early 2017, and then at the back end of 2017 the gin was ready. The commissioning of the site took a long time. Amazing. And then we really entered the market early 2018.
So it takes, and that's always the thing, I think, when people say, oh, you should just set up a distillery. It's like, I love spirits, I love whiskey, but it's a big undertaking.
I mean, it's funny because one question that people often ask is like, oh, what advice would you give to other people want to do a distillery? And we've always said, it'll take 10 times longer than you think, and it will cost 10 times more than you think. And 3, don't do it.
And also just don't do it. Just don't start. You mentioned something super important about what makes you guys stand out, which is grain to glass. And I think maybe people don't always understand that a lot of distilleries out there, if they're making a gin or a vodka, will source that spirit in and then flavor it or add things to it to make that product. But you are doing it right from the beginning, which I suppose is based off of your interest initially in the brewing side.
Yes, and also our chef, who worked for us for almost the duration of the time we had our bar, he cooked everything from scratch. I mean, he and Braden used to fight over GP all the time, even our tomato sauce. And actually, he taught us a lot about doing things from first principles. That alongside with the brewing. And then Braden took a trip to Louisville, Kentucky, and he went to the craft distilling conference and met lots of grain to bottle distillers there. So he was just unwaveringly sure that this is what we wanted to do. And I think when he found out that actually most gins aren't made from scratch, he was like, what? People need to know about this, and we need to do it right.
Do it differently. Yeah, absolutely. So you obviously set up with, initially, obviously you've got quite a wide range of spirits here at Doghouse. I'm, of course, always interested in the whiskey side.
Yes.
We've got some great bottles here. Can you run us through a little bit about the history behind, obviously, starting with a moonshine and then going on to make London's first bourbon-style whiskey?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'll just caveat that we started with gin, but we always knew we were going to make whiskey.
Okay, that was planned,
I think that's what happens to a lot of distilleries. You start with the gin, but actually we do gin, vodka, aperitivo, and then moonshine, and then whiskey. So a whole range of products, and they all have their own branding, their own names, their own labels, all done by different pieces of art. So we always knew that we wanted to put a range of spirits out, and that was a goal of ours from the start. But Debt Collector itself, so Prohibition inspired is the sort of the idea behind the branding and the label. And it's basically what we call American-style corn whiskey, inspired by bourbon, but obviously the only thing we can't call it bourbon because we're not in America. We're in London, which is sort of something that makes us one of the most innovative distilleries around, because we've really taken something that no one else is doing and saying, right, let's do this, and why not?
Especially when you love it, and that's where a lot of the heart came from, is those trips out there, seeing what people were doing in Louisville and things.
And also, Doghouse is about fun, and about enjoying yourself and drinking with friends, having amazing experiences, music. And so bourbon-style, American-style corn whiskey for us was definitely like it was a natural decision. It suited us, and we like to drink cocktails. We like to be in bars with our customers, with our friends, and so that's it was a natural angle for us to go in that direction. But Debt Collector itself, inspired by Prohibition. It's something, you're going to be drinking in a speakeasy at 2:00 in the morning in an old-fashioned, that was sort of a lot of the idea behind the branding and the label. Back in the 20s, cash was king, illicit booze, bootlegging, it's that kind of idea that sort of put us behind it.
And the labels are very distinctive, they're very cool, but there's actually a lot of interesting elements behind the label. Can you talk a little bit more about the artist and the inspiration?
All of our labels, we actually use art rather than, say, a graphic design company. So our gin label was done by a North London tattoo artist. Our vodka label was done by a Sydney street artist. And with Debt Collector, we actually found the artist on Instagram. His name is Stefan, and he is based in Stuttgart. And Braden flew to Stuttgart and met with him. He didn't speak any English, so he had to have a translator, which was his son. And we talked about the concept and what we were thinking, and why we wanted him to do it, and he was really excited. And he actually did us a piece of art, which I have here.
Amazing.
So this is it's airbrush art. So it's a specific style of art. It's what you would see on the side of like Harley Davidsons, hot rod vans. So we have video footage of him spraying this piece of art.
Actually doing it with, wow, it's just amazing because it's so detailed. And I just, in my brain, because I don't know a lot about art, I think you can't get that much detail with something like that.
It's a really amazing form of art, and it just suited, with our sort of American inspiration and vibe. So he did an amazing job with it, and he actually came to our launch, which was really cool.
I was going to say, did you get him over here with the son to translate?
Yeah, he did.
Fantastic.
Which is great.
So you've got an unaged moonshine. Then you kind of work your way up. Can you talk us a little bit through the differences here between the whiskies?
Again, being different, sensing a theme with Doghouse. But what happened was Braden was in the office. I think Jack came up and was like, guys, everyone needs to stop. And we're like, what's going on? And he came up and we tried the liquid, and it was at 9 months at that point. And it just tasted so good. We were just all like, oh my goodness, this is exciting. This is an indication of how good it's going to be at 3. But then we started talking and we're like, well, why would we wait until it's 3? Like, this is already can be, used in cocktails and tastes wonderful. And then we thought about the journey, and we thought, what, everyone sort of starts with a whiskey brand and they start drinking it when it's 3, and then they drink it as it gets older. But it's quite rare to drink it before then.
Absolutely.
So we still had 2 more years of aging going for it to be able to be released as a whiskey. So we were like, well, let's just go to town. Let's let people, our customers, you know, the bars we work with, let's let them try it as new make, unaged, and then 1 year. And we could have called it unaged corn liquor, new make, white dog, but we went with Moonshine because that sort of fell in with our whole branding,
the ethos and history,
the
absolutely,
the fun of the story.
Yeah.
But the unaged works really well in like rum-based cocktails. So we drink it in a daiquiri. It's outstanding.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Cocktail bartenders love working with that. They're all 50%, so they will really stand up.
Yeah.
And then the 1 year is actually my favorite, still in an old-fashioned.
Is it? Really? In an
so
old-fashioned?
it smells
Amazing.
like the whiskey taste.
Okay.
But it's got more spice and kick because it's still young.
Yeah.
So, you know, when we were going out and about, we were saying, look, taste this, and then add on 2 years, and then you'll see where we're going.
Where it's going. And it's American oak barrel, so you're putting it into...
All new virgin American oak.
Virgin oak.
We've essentially, you know, followed the process to the T, apart from not being in America.
Yeah.
But yeah, so all new virgin American oak. And actually the colour in the 1 year is natural.
Wow.
So that's also very unusual.
Yeah,
and we achieved that by using a 50-litre cask for just 3 months.
Right. So nice small... So it starts out in a 50-litre.
Yeah. And that just gives it... That was just to basically give it a bit of colour and char, and then into the 200-litre.
Okay.
We didn't want it to be in the 50-litre for too long because it would have
it'll
tasted
be oversaturated.
But yeah, so that's something we're really proud of with the 1 year.
Yeah.
Because it's naturally that colour and it tastes absolutely incredible. So
amazing.
And then the 2 year is more just for the sort of people who really want to taste the journey.
Yeah.
On our website, we have like a mini kit where you can have the unaged, the 1, the 2, and the whiskey, and you can go through that journey, which is fun.
Yeah. And when did you launch the official 3-year-old?
Yeah,
it now has whiskey on the label. It moves from moonshine to whiskey on the label.
And that was the nice idea with the label as well, is that we could change the colour but have the sort of core branding. Yeah. So if we do different variations, again, we can go with different colour schemes. Yeah. But the whiskey launched at the beginning of March. So it's been a rock and roll roller coaster since then. We've been busy bees, but yeah, it's very, very exciting to finally be one of only a couple of whiskey distilleries in London.
Yeah.
And the first ever distillery making American-style
corn
whiskey.
Yeah. And you're using, so it's a high corn mash bill?
Yeah, so we actually use 75%. Obviously,
that's high.
Yeah, a lot of bourbons are more around 70, but it only has to be over 51.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason we didn't go any higher than that was because it gets stuck.
I was going to say, does it get stuck?
Yeah.
So for those of our listeners and things who maybe don't know so much about the distillation process, corn is a sticky beast to work with. Corn and rye, both of them, and they like to mess up any of your equipment.
Yeah, it's really tricky, and there was quite a bit of trial and error there. Yeah. But we definitely wanted to go high corn. We wanted that smooth softness. Yeah. You know, that was definitely a goal.
Even at that high ABV, you still get that softness from the grain being used.
Soft and creamy. And
wow, it's so interesting. And also congratulations on doing that, because that is a big, to set out that plan in your mind. I think a lot of distilleries and young distilleries I speak to, young as in, in the last 10, 15 years set up, they might have plans and they might want to do that, but I don't always see that follow through. It's a big deal to say, we're going to set our stool out and we're going to do this, and actually then go on and achieve that, because it takes a lot of...
Yeah, and I think that's been a lot about what we're about, that sort of commitment to the process, to what we say we're going to do, to doing it properly, and to talking about that and educating people in that,
And you mentioned a bit about cocktails. I know there's some purists out there who say, whiskey must be drunk neat. That is luckily diminishing. I am a big fan of whiskey cocktails, and it's probably actually a lot of the times I consume whiskey more probably nowadays in cocktails than I do neat. I mean, I'm always tasting whiskey neat, but in terms of sitting back, I'll either have a really nice, usually a bourbon and a beer, or I'll have a whiskey cocktail. What are your thoughts on whiskey cocktails, and what are some of your
We obviously, that was a big sort of lean into why we've gone in the direction we have with the style of whiskey we have, because we love cocktails. And I mean, for myself, I have to stop myself from drinking an old-fashioned every day. It's too easy to do. And Debt Collector makes an amazing old-fashioned. We actually use a little bit of maple syrup, as well as the sugar syrup, just about half and half,
nice.
and cherry bitters.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also obviously a Manhattan is amazing with it too. Yeah. But we love cocktails, and that's what we sort of made it for. That being said, you know, it's beautiful to sip
and enjoy. Yeah, on its own. And have you managed to get out to Kentucky? Is that on your radar?
Yeah, not me yet.
Yes, yet. You're like, hang on.
Somewhere in the middle of all of this, we somehow brought a child into the world as well. So it's like, it's my turn next.
Running a distillery, mom to a toddler.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
But that's also what's been so exciting about entering the world of whiskey, because, you know, we've been going for some time now. And we've got a lot of respect for what we've done so far with the spirits we've made. But whiskey has definitely opened up a whole world. And I was saying to you, like, you know, the women in whiskey world is exciting, and there's a lot happening there. I'm going to women in whiskey tastings. I'm running a tasting for one soon. But that's, you know, there's a lot of, not just doors opening, but there's just a lot of conversations happening that perhaps haven't happened before, which is really great.
Fantastic. So you obviously, is there any focus on doing any other things in the whiskey space, or are you focused on the debt collector and the style?
Yeah, so we have spent 7 years doing new product development.
Yeah.
And because we chose to go down the route of each bottle having its own label, its own artist, its own name, its own bottle, you know, each spirit that we brought out has been a labour of love that we're really proud of. But I think what's very exciting for us now is we now have a strong portfolio of 8 spirits. And so for the next little while, we're just going to be sort of going out and shouting more loudly about what we do. Yeah. I mean, for instance, we are trying to really shine the light on British farming at the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, being a grain to bottle distillery, we get all of our grain from as close to London as possible. I always say to people, we're almost farm to bottle, but it's the one thing we can't
quite do is set up a farm in Battersea.
We're in between 2 train tracks. I mean, our rectification column, we actually had to split into 3 pieces. Like normally in a distillery in the countryside, that would just be one piece
straight in
all the way up.
Yeah, yeah.
But because we're where we are in between the train tracks, just 2 stops in Waterloo, we had to do things a bit differently. But yeah, we're almost farm to bottle. We get our grain from as close to London as we can. Our maltster is actually in Norfolk, and we go out once a year and we stand in the fields and we talk to the farmers, and we really know where our grains are coming from. And we're so passionate about that. But where there's a missing piece is that the consumer drinking in the bar, and even sometimes the bartenders and stuff, are not realizing what grains have gone in or where they've come from, or the people that we're making and harvesting and, you know, working so hard in the fields to enable us to make these spirits. So this year we're really trying to shine a light on British agriculture.
That conversation.
Farming and sort of we're planning to go out and do a bit of like shooting in farms and chat to farmers, and then have a bourbon and
have a bourbon. Fantastic. Well, that's super exciting. Well, Katherine, just before we finish up today, desert island dram that's not your own?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hard one. You know, I almost wanted to say the 1 year, because I was like, well, it's not the whiskey, and it is my favourite. But probably Wild Turkey 101. Yeah.
Amazing. I love Wild Turkey 101. I always buy it in the airport in a litre when I'm coming back from Canada. I'm like, that's my favorite. We've always got a bottle on our shelf. So great choice. Amazing. Well, Katherine, it's been so insightful getting a chance to chat to you today. I'm super excited to see that you're really championing whiskey here in London, which is just amazing.
And also I think that the GI thing, you know, that's one of the biggest things happening in the world at the moment. With America doing the GI for single malt, you know. I think the fact that we're making a style of whiskey in an area that it's not from, you know, there's a lot more of that happening now. So we're happy to be leading the charge in that area. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. It's been brilliant talking to you, and I look forward to seeing all of the developments and more conversations about where you'll be going.
Thanks, Alwynne.
Cheers. Thank you, Katherine.